Hello and welcome back to BookNerdTV. Today I thought I'd do something a little different from my usual book reviews, book discussions, and TBRs. I thought I would actually do one of the BookTube Newbie Tags that I ran across. And as I remember, I was watching The Broken Spine, I believe. It's Erica from The Broken Spine, and she was doing her own BookTube Newbie Tag. And I thought, well, that seems like it might be something fun to do because you got to learn a little about Erica. And I thought, since I haven't really done anything as far as introducing myself or saying anything about myself on BookTube, I thought this might be a good reason or a good idea. So if I haven't said so already, my name is Wendy, and I started my book channel, I think it was back in July of this year, 2019. And this book tag will offer me another opportunity to give you just a little more information about myself. So I've got the questions right here on my phone, so here we go. The first question is, why did you start this channel? That's a good question. Why did I start this channel? I thought it might be something fun to do, something creative to do, and since I've loved reading books since I was a very young person, very little kid, the BookTube channel offered me a chance to discuss books and maybe have a conversation through the comments with other people about their thoughts about what the book was. I just thought it would be a good way to interact with people, to talk about books because I love books. I think that was my primary reason for starting. I've started 2 book clubs before. They're not active right now, but at the time that they were active, I really enjoyed going to meet with the ladies, hanging out, talking about the books. Of course, we usually met somewhere so we could have dinner, and so that was part of the allure of the book clubs as well. The second question is, what are some of the fun and unique things that I bring to BookTube? Well, unique would be my particular perspective or point of view, because everyone has a different point of view, different perspective. Everyone will draw a little something different from a particular book that you've read. And so the opportunity to discuss those differing points of views is what I find engaging. Also, the opportunity that maybe someone found a lot of the same things that you found compelling or interesting in the book is another reason to talk about and discuss, again, via either, whether it's in person or via the comments. So that opportunity to interact with people with my particular unique point of view is something that I can bring that's different, maybe. Question number 3. What are you most excited for about this new channel? The thing that I'm most excited about, I think, is the opportunity or the chance to interact with people who don't just live in my local area, but the opportunity to discuss books with people who live in the United States, in North America, across the world. So there's this opportunity for this sort of global interaction. It's just the opportunity is there to interact with people who are not in my immediate area, whose thoughts and point of view will be different from my own. And so that's one of the things that I'm excited about as far as the channel. Number 4, why do you love reading? Why do I love reading? I love reading because even when I was a young person, little kid, reading offered me the opportunity to exercise my imagination, and within that author's ability to create a world or build a world, my imagination could take me there, or I could build that world up in my mind, in my mind's eye. And so it took me to places that I wouldn't have gone otherwise. It let me think about experiences that I haven't had, but it let me think deeply if I chose to. It let me think deeply about these other situations that people may be encountering. So it offered me a wider world, a bigger world, and a more diverse world. And that's one of the things that I really have enjoyed about reading. Number 5, what book or series got you into reading? My mother was one of those people. She would bring us, the kids, the Dr. Seuss books, the Cat in the Hat, One Fish, Two Fish, those kind of books home for us to read when we were very young. And then I think, as I recall, we advanced to like the Berenstain Bears. I know there were some other first reader books that we had with, lots of pictures and very few words. I was the one in the family for whom the love of reading really sort of perpetuated. Because, not too long after, those first readers, I kind of advanced to chapter books, and I was really proud because, chapter books, no pictures. So I took that love or that excitement about reading and moved on to more advanced books. And the very next thing that I can remember reading a great deal was the Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boy mysteries. Now, Hardy Boys were okay, but I was all about Nancy Drew. I loved her books, or I loved the books about her. That was just some of when I was very young, that was just some of my favorite reading, because not only was it a lady or a girl sort of solving these mysteries, there were mysteries to solve. So, next question. What questions would you ask your favorite booktuber? The question I would ask my favorite booktuber would be about the motivation to continue to put up videos, and also the motivation to continue reading. How do they maintain the discipline to put out videos on a consistent basis? Do they ever get tired, or do they ever feel like reading has become a job rather than a joy? So that's, I think, one of the things that I would definitely ask one of my favorite booktubers. Next question. What challenges do you think starting a BookTube channel will be the hardest to overcome? I think one of the biggest challenges will be staying motivated, even though you may feel like you're just kind of sending your videos out into the void and not getting very much response, especially when you're a newbie to BookTube. That may be one of the things that will stop you from putting your information out there or putting your videos out there. And I guess it's also one of the questions that I would like to ask one of my favorite booktubers is sort of, how did you maintain your motivation to keep putting your videos out even if you weren't initially getting a lot of views? Because it can feel like sometimes you're just kind of just throwing stuff out there and you're not getting a lot of responses. And it can be demotivating. And I guess all of this really does pertain to what is your motivation, or what is my motivation to begin with starting this channel. And the motivation for me has really been more about an outlet for creativity. Putting out videos or making videos is not something I ever thought I would do. And the fact that I'm actually doing this now it's fun, right? I enjoy the editing process. And because I'm a woman who tends to go off on tangents, I have to edit, because otherwise the videos might be completely incoherent and you'd never, 30 minutes later, I'd still be talking about something or another that may not have anything to do with the original point. Next question. When did I start reading? I started reading, I think I said earlier, at a very early age. I can remember being 4 or 5 with those first sort of early reader, Dr. Seuss, Berenstain Bears, those type of books. Frog and Toad Are Friends, those kind of books. I love that book, by the way. Those kind of books are what I remember from my very earliest times starting to read and cherishing those books. And that's how that took off for me. Next question, where do I read? Everywhere that I have the smartphone with me, so that I can always read an ebook or listen to an audiobook. So anywhere where there's time to read, that's where I will break out a book, break out the smartphone and read. Any place where I have to wait, there's a line, anywhere, in the house, out of the house, in a plane, on a train. I mean, you get it though. You get it. Last question is, what kind of books do I like to read? I am someone who reads the gamut of books, so I enjoy nonfiction. And within the nonfiction category, I enjoy personal finance books. I enjoy self-help books. I enjoy books about history. Also books about science. I also enjoy, of course, fiction books. And so my first love, besides those first readers, my first love was science fiction. That love of science fiction led me to fantasy. My favorite fantasy writers, and maybe my first fantasy writer that I can say for sure, was Piers Anthony and the novels, Zanth. Love those books because there was a book full of puns, but it was also sort of this fantasy adventure, high fantasy adventure. So I enjoyed that. After Piers Anthony, it was David Eddings, and I definitely remember the Belgariad and the Malloreon. I think there's also the Elenium. These are series that are like 5 books long or so. I think each of the series I've mentioned was at least 5 books long. I love, oh, and I probably should say David and Lee Eddings because I think later on he started to credit his wife as well. At some point I veered over into the mystery lane. I can remember reading books by Martha Grimes, of course, Agatha Christie. And then I took sort of a short detour through Western mysteries, I think Tony Hillerman, and that kind of made me read a couple other Western books, but Westerns really weren't my jam. So I went back to reading just nonfiction for a while because I got kind of bored and or tired of sort of the fantasy that I was reading at the time, because it was all, for me, starting to be a bit of the same thing, which is why I'm so excited now to see so many new authors and so many new populations coming into the fantasy and the science fiction genre. Basically, there are fewer genres that I don't like to read than there are genres I do like to read. Okay, book nerds, that's going to be it for today. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you liked it, please hit that like button. If you're enjoying the content thus far, go ahead and please subscribe. I'd appreciate it very much. And if you want to be notified every time I put up a new video, hit that notification bell. Remember, there's always time to read. I'll see you later.